Hello and welcome back to our study of Peninei Halacha, the teachings of Rabbi Eliezer Malamed Shlita. Well, we continue our week of learning as we're getting closer and closer to Tisha B'Av. Of course, the 9 days is upon us, so at the very least one has to be careful because this is not a good time for our people. We ask you to please continue davening for Chaylei Tzvah Yisrael, for Shalom L'chol B'Tzvah Yisrael, safety of our brothers and sisters in Israel. And we learn each day, Ili Nishmat Seren Daniel Shimon ben Harav Daron V'Shel Yishem Kam Demo. So, as I mentioned yesterday, we're trying to condense a few chapters at once so that we could conclude this by Tisha B'Av, this study. So today we'll do 2 chapters on Rechitza. Kol Rechitza shel Tanug asur b'Tisha B'Av. Any sort of bathing for enjoyment is prohibited on Tisha B'Av, bein b'mayim chamim, bein b'mayim karim, whether it's hot water or cold water. V'afilu miktzas gufo asur lirchotz, even only a part of one's body one is not allowed to wash. Even to stick your little finger into water is prohibited. But however, if someone became soiled, let's say you were changing a diaper and it got on you, or a person got mud on you, or if let's say you had a bloody nose, so you're allowed to wash the place that became dirty, because this washing is not intended for any sort of pleasure. Again, he mentions here about changing diapers. If you're changing the diapers of the children, obviously you can wash the place that is dirty, and also through that you're going to wash your hands as well. And if water is not enough, then certainly you could use soap as well. Let's say a woman is preparing food for the breaking of the fast, or let's say for children who are not fasting, she's allowed to wash, let's say, for preparation, or to wash the foods, or to wash the dishes, because this is not considered washing of any sort of enjoyment. And even though by removing some sort of dirt or anything that's in your way, that there is a bit of pleasure in that, but that's not the main purpose. The main purpose is to clean the item or to clean what's on your hands. Someone who's sweating so much, as we know there's a unwritten halacha that Tisha B'Av has to be the hottest day of the year, but somebody who's perspiring so much that he's suffering so much, he can wash the place of where he's sweating, because this again is for cleanliness, it's not necessarily for enjoyment. Someone who is so sensitive, such to the point that he cannot concentrate, cannot do anything without washing his face in the morning, he can wash his face off in the morning after he wakes up. Someone who has the sleep in his eyes, the buildup that accrues in one's eyes in the morning when you wake up, and you always wash it with water, you're allowed to remove this with water as well. We don't rinse out the mouth on Tisha B'Av. And someone who is so troubled by the fact that he can't wash out his mouth, then one can rinse out one's mouth and brush one's teeth without any sort of toothpaste. This is a Tisha B'Av. Again, we're pretty machmir in this. Rav said, but someone is so uncomfortable they can't function, then you can brush without toothpaste. But this does not apply on Yom Kippur. A bride who is within 30 days of being married, so she's still considered a kala in that status, since she has a special status, so she's allowed to wash her face, and she can also put items on her body, or whatever it is that's needed so that she shouldn't perhaps become undesirable in the eyes of her husband. You could use a towel that is slightly damp. You could wipe it over your face, your hands, and your feet. Because just a little dampness on a towel is not considered washing. ובתנאי שאין בה תופח על מנת להטפיח. היינו שאין בה לחוס כזו שיכולו להלכך אז היד באופן שתוכל אחר כך ללכלך דבר אחר. In other words, it shouldn't be so wet that you would need another towel to dry it, just enough that gets on your skin and washes off whatever is needed. Again, pretty much we're pretty machmir. We're strict and we can manage the few hours of the day without washing, and we do so just like we would on Yom Kippur. Again, Yom Kippur is Torah much stricter, but on Tisha B'Av we're machmir as well. We move to the next chapter. That was Perek Hey. We're going to move to Perek Vav of Rechitza Shel Mitzvah. L'tzorach mitzvah mutar lital yadayim. To wash for a mitzvah, that one is allowed. Because again, this is not considered a pleasure activity. Kohanim are going to duchen. They can wash their entire hands. But there is no heter there is no permissibility to go to the mikvah on Tisha B'Av. On note number 7, he discusses the case of a woman who has to go to the mikvah. It's beyond our purview. So what about Nagelwasser? So we know that every single morning when you wake up, you have to wash your hands 3 times till the ends of your fingers. Because as we discussed this moons ago, that there is what's called ruach ra'ah, this evil spirit that is on your hands after you sleep. And this can cause damage, some sort of spiritual damage to the openings in your body. And in order to remove this, we wash our hands 3 times continuously. And also going to the bathroom in the morning, one has to wash one's hands and say the bracha of al netilas yadayim. So we're talking about in the morning when you wash Nagelwasser, so you go to the bathroom, you wash your hands, you make al netilas yadayim afterwards, and this is considered a mitzvah. Because Chazal instituted that before we daven Shacharis, you have to make a bracha of netilas yadayim. And even though every single day, whenever we wash our hand all the way up to the wrist, on Tisha B'Av, we're machmir, we're strict, and we only go to the ends of the fingers, meaning up to the knuckles, let's say. Because this is not fully obligatory. We have a suffix, we have a doubt whether this is preparing for shachris or whether it's just to remove the evil ruach ra'ah. So in note number 8, he says, La halacha, maspik lishtofas yadayim machar sherutim. It's enough that we wash our hands after going to the bathroom. Amnam hanoga lital tamid shalosh ba'amim achar sherutim rishayim leino gam kem b'Tisha B'Av. He says people who have the custom of washing their hands 3 times, even after the bathroom, can do so on Tisha B'Av. Again, because this is for purity, for mitzvah, to be able to say the bracha, and it's not for pleasure. Back to the main text. Even though all year round, people wash their hands before any time they daven. But Tisha B'Av ain't not lean daim lekras tefillah. When it comes to Tisha B'Av, we don't wash our hands before davening. Since this is not an obligatory washing. Aval mishanaga b'makomos metunafim shebegufo. However, if someone touched a soiled part of one's body or an uncovered part of one's body, v'rotza achar kach lispalel, and he wants to daven afterwards, he told us Yadav should wash his hands. Because if your hands are impure, you have to wash them so you'll be able to daven, and this is not considered a pleasure washing. This is for a mitzvah. He's or suffik legabidin shalmi sheispaneh below shenaga biyadav b'makomos mechasafshin begufo. A doubt comes up. What about somebody who went to the bathroom but he didn't touch any uncovered parts of his body? Because if he didn't touch any parts of your body that were uncovered or unclean, maybe you shouldn't have to wash his hands. So in order to remove yourself from this possible doubt, it's better that when one goes to the bathroom, you should touch a part of your body that is normally covered. Touch, let's say, a sweaty part of one's body. Therefore, according to all opinions, you should wash your hands afterwards, and you won't, at least up until the knuckles, and then you won't run into this doubt. Then you can make the bracha of Asher Yotzar with clean hands. So generally, this is our practice. You go to the bathroom, you wash your hands, but washing your hands for any other reason, unless it's for a mitzvah, is prohibited and not done so on Tisha B'Av. So this is our second double section we have here. As we get closer to Tisha B'Av, please continue davening for Chalitz, Fagan Yisrael, first time Chalitz Yisrael. Save your brothers and sisters in Israel. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great day. We'll see you here next time.